Welcome back to Exotic Car Play Place, everybody. Thanks for joining in. Today we're going to talk about how you can personally beat depreciation when you buy a premium luxury or exotic sports car. Yes, I've owned, and I'm going to share with you guys now. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Mark with Exotic Car Play Place. So before we get into the list that I have for you guys of some great examples that I've personally bought and sold or currently own, there are some great ways that you too can buy into a modern day supercar, luxury car, and you can do it saving money, not worrying about depreciation, because depreciation ultimately pulls money out of your pocket. Nobody wants to give that money up. Everybody wants to keep their hard-earned cash because we work hard for it. So I'm going to share with you how to buy into some of the used cars in those luxury and supercar segments and save a pile of money. It's important to you and it's important to me, but I've also got some great experiences that I can share with you. So let's get moving into the Porsche 911, which is where I have a lot of experience because I've owned about 4 Porsche 911s in my time. So let's get started looking at an example like this, a base 911. What we have here is a relatively new Porsche 991. Are all 911s the same? No. A 911 like this one happens to be a GTS. So the GTS is the improved higher output engine, and typically in any of the cars, it's not the GT3, but it's sort of the next tier down. It's got some great looks to it, some nice touches on the oversized wheels, and this car here has the PDK transmission, which is their dual clutch transmission. Now, the only downside with a car like this, I know for resale, a target top, for example, will make this car suffer in terms of value because not a lot of people want that look. More people are inclined to buy the coupe. So if you're buying this new, you will suffer some serious depreciation. So if you're buying this car as a used car, consider that. Don't buy cars like this with the target top. Even the convertible roofs that fully retract can be a tough car to sell. So typically 911s are always known for the coupes, the hard roof. So if you're worried about depreciation, buy the right cars that's gonna sell. Black is always a good color, whites, reds, anything like that, traditional colors in Porsche world will always sell easily. Now, if you really want to worry about strong depreciation or lack thereof, there's even better solutions. Stay away from the standard 911s like a Carrera or a Carrera S. Even though they're great cars to drive and own and they're more affordable new, if you're looking at buying one used, these cars in fact will likely depreciate harder and will take much longer before they rebound and the values start coming back up. Like this here, being a GTS is closer to the standard car. This car will likely never appreciate. This car will continue its depreciation curve until it hits a bottom, likely to hit about $50,000 to $60,000 as a bottom line, maybe in about 7 or 8 years. So this is not necessarily a car you're going to buy too new. You want to buy something like this where it's around 7 or 8 years of age. You're maximizing your value because the car has depreciated the majority of its value. But if you hold on to it, you buy it at about 7 years of age and you sell it, again, 5 years later, likely you'll get almost all of your dollars back. Now, that being said, there's better solutions. If you're really looking at not buying a 911 that's going to depreciate too much, you really need to spend the money, get the unique cars. Where this really becomes more evident in the Porsche world is buying cars that are unique, more racy, lower numbers. Those cars will likely not depreciate a whole lot, and in a lot of cases, the values will rise and they will become worth even more than when you paid for it in some cases. So ultimately, my suggestion is to get a hold of a GT3, GT3 RS, or a GT2 RS, like this one. We have a GT3 RS. Not only is it a GT3 RS, hey, we have this great martini stripes. Now, it may not look the greatest for some people. Some might like it, some may not. However, the GT3 RS has all the greatest features that combine into one normally aspirated car right here. This essentially is a race car for the street. The GT3 RS is ready to put on a trailer and drive to the racetrack and drive it back home. This is always going to have some value to it. This car may depreciate somewhat, but it will not depreciate into oblivion. Why? There's too many things going on here in terms of upgrades. You've got awesome ventilation, upgraded wheels with center lock hubs, GT3 RS decals, vents, wings, way too much to not like about these cars, and because the numbers are low enough, this car is always going to retain some value to it. So another great luxury performance car that I can really advise you guys on is anything BMW M car. Now yes, I have an E60 M5, so 5 Series M5, which is the car that I own. I bought it with relatively low Ks, came with an extended warranty, was good to go for a while. So it became more palatable should I have returned the car down the line and sold it to yet another owner. He also would enjoy having the extended warranty. And I bought the car with very low Ks, from a doctor, who was well kept, and became great value to me, and it gave me some time actually to potentially drive it, own it, and pass it down to the next owner and not lose a whole lot of money, because I don't put a lot of Ks on my car. But the general same phenomenon goes with cars like this. Any of the BMW M cars. What we have here is a BMW M4 Club Sport right here. As you can see there, is an excellent choice. But what you don't do is buy this car new, but instead let somebody walk into the car lot, put their money down, buy this car for $140,000 Canadian, drive it away. You then wait 3 years, because that's the sweet spot. When you're buying an M car, you want to buy the cars with anywhere from 3 to 5 years of age. So this being a 2019, you want to wait till about 2022 to wait for the classifieds, and this car will show up. That's where you want to buy it, in the 3, 4, and 5 year range for a BMW M car, as opposed to the Porsches, the 911, which is where you want to wait about 6, 7, 8 years, because that's your sweet spot. Because some of the reliability concerns associated with some of the M cars, it's always a good idea to get the car with as low as Ks as you can, but to maximize value and reduce the maximum depreciation, you want to buy this car somewhere in that 3 to 5 year range, so that you get a great car, still runs well, and you haven't paid through the nose like the 140 grand. You will likely get this car for $50,000, $60,000 in about 4 years. Vast improvement in terms of value. That's where you want to buy an M car. That's any M car. M5, like I have, the M4, M3s, probably the M2s, the whole works, because reliability is always a bit of a concern, but you don't want to pick them up brand new because they are very, very costly. Now, another great car on this list actually happens to be a McLaren. That's right, a McLaren, any McLaren is great value. Why is that? Well, it's a supercar, and they're very expensive brand new. Yes, the McLaren 650, for example, 650S, right now you can pick up a 2015 for about $140,000 to $160,000, in that range. Considering that car was 300 grand when it was new, represents phenomenal value for a car now that is only 4 years old. You can get a supercar that is quicker than a Lamborghini Aventador, looks all a part of the supercar, has a full carbon fiber tub, 641 horsepower, flip-up doors, and the whole enchilada. The McLaren series of cars are so underrated and so undervalued that it represents such a massive value to buy the cars, but you have to buy them in that 4 to 5 year age range. Because if you buy them at 2 years, 3 years, they're still current models. That's what afflicts McLaren so bad. There's two things. Number one, cost of maintenance, or that fear factor. People are scared because McLaren is a small niche brand. People are scared they're going to be caught with some major repairs, which may be somewhat true, but they are actually a very dependable car, at least for the drivetrain. There are some electronic issues with those cars, but generally, mechanically, very robust. But really, the reason for hitting that 4 to 5 year range is because McLaren is smart. They always come out with an S, then an LT, then an S, then an LT. So you had, for example, the 650S, then you had a 675 LT, which is an absolute animal. So whenever the latest LT model comes out, that more or less obsoletes the previous S model. The same is going to happen with the 720. Currently is the S model. Wait for the LT. When the LT comes out, the 720S will nosedive. It's just a phenomenon with the McLarens. That's why it represents such a phenomenal deal. And at 140 grand US, you will never, ever find a better supercar value than a McLaren. And likely you won't lose a whole lot of money at that point, if you catch it at the bottom of its depreciation curve at that $140,000 to $160,000 range. And so the car behind me, a Lamborghini Guyardo. It's the early 2004 to 2008. represents an outstanding value by today's standards. Let's do a quick walk around and I'll show you exactly why that is. So firstly, these early Gallardos represent what is Audi's attempt at a supercar, because Audi, Lamborghini got together, they constructed the engine, created a drivetrain that was very dependable. Like in these modern day Lambos, you actually have stereos that work, heating controls that work, all your dash displays work nicely, even though they're not digital yet. High quality interior. Your typical rake, the Lamborghini rake here, from the sloped hood, window line, and then down to the flying buttresses at the back, give that classic Lamborghini look. Yes, and with that amazing V10 engine, it produces some of the best sounds in the business. But even more to the value, where you want to buy these cars now is this early model, 04, 05s. Now, 2004s, you can find these as low as $65,000, $70,000 US. That's right. For a nice car with low miles, maybe even a manual spec, you can still find these cars around $90,000 to $100,000 in really, really good shape. So super clean, the value is there, and honestly, one of the most recognizable supercars still today, the Lamborghini Guyardo. The only thing you have to be aware of is that these cars eat clutches, so it will cost you $10,000 for a new clutch if you have not done a snap test. So you definitely want to do a snap test. That's what you want to ask for. And the power steering hoses in here too, tucked away under the engine, they get really hot, and there's a recall for those. They will ignite, potentially burning the car. So you want to make sure that recall is done, that there's a recent snap test for the clutch. And then you've got yourself one of the best looking, best sounding Lamborghinis available today for barely 6 figures, super low cost for a supercar, and likely the value will always be there. It's not going to get any cheaper than it is today. If anything, I see this car eventually slowly rising out of that bottom hole. So this is an absolute beast. But to get into a V10 Lamborghini of this value, you have to wait at least 10 years. So being that this was a 2005, 2015 was its sort of sweet spot where the Ks are low, the price was right. That's where you want to get it. The Huracans I would expect in that same territory. As soon as you get into that 2015, wait till 2025, what you're going to start seeing are these Huracans will be in this kind of price range. You'll probably see a Huracan in 2025, and they'll likely go also for that range of about, $150,000, $140,000. I would expect to see Huracans drop down to. Probably won't bottom out as much as a Gallardo just because of the clutches and some of that reputation. But the Huracans will bottom out too. So again, for supercars like a Lambo, you're going to have to wait about 9-10 years to get maximum value because the cars are well taken care of. The value's there, so you're going to save maximum dollars, but you're not going to get yourself a car that's been beat up and has too high a mileage. They're all relatively garage queens. People take them out for the weekends, put them away during the week. So that's one of the best values right here, Lamborghini Guyardo. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. I hope you love those examples because it's proof, I'm proof, that you too can buy, own a luxury car or even an exotic car, buy in, enjoy it for years, sell it, and not lose a whole lot of depreciation cash. You want to keep dollars in your pocket, so do I. If you do, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, guys. I'd really love to hear from you, and I'd love to see you in the next video. Catch you soon. Bye-bye.